So I just got done talking with Lisa Hepner, a fantastic screenwriter who mostly does Christmas romance movies. One thing we didn't talk about was the first movie, or the first script that got produced that she wrote, called So You Think You Can Fart.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of gleeful when I looked at your IMDb page and saw all these great Christmas movies, which we wanted to record a December episode to talk about Christmas movies. But then one of your credits
stood out,
going all the way back to 2012.
Yep.
Is a short film.
Yep.
A parody of So You Think You Can Dance, all about a farting competition.
Yes.
Can you please tell me the story of how that came up? We were talking about Christmas movie. You said, "Oh, I watch these for fun. I'll watch stuff with my husband and get inspired." What were you watching that made you think I should do a fart competition?
Right. Well, so that's the kind of funny thing. So I told you before I went into Christmas romance, I was doing comedy and rom-com, and so I was writing that and in that genre, and we were watching that show, So You Think You Can Dance, because it's a popular reality show about dancing. And honestly, I mean, to be quite frank, I think it was either my husband or I tooted, and we were watching that show, and I was like, wow, what if there was a reality show like that about farting? And then of course my husband was like, well, you would take the cake on that. And I was like, no, I'd be a little bitchy on that. And so we started joking back and forth about like how it'd be like critiquing farts, like, oh, that sounded like the 4th of July or whatever. And it just came to my head.
That's what I liked about that script and watching that short, which we will put a link to. It's on YouTube. So I'll put a link beneath this video so everyone can watch it. It must have been so much fun figuring out what is the language around critiquing farts. Like talking about wine is, for me, is comedic gold, because there's all kind of ridiculous things people actually say.
Right.
And you can make up even more ridiculous things for humor. But you had to create a whole language for talking about farts.
I know. And it was a lot based on just personal experience. But this is what happens when you're married for 10 years at that time or whatever. We talk about our farts,
The research must have been great. You guys just get a bunch of chili and then a tape recorder and just try and figure out, that one was more fluffy.
Exactly. That's a little fluffy. Well, the funny thing is, actually, I said I wasn't on set to any of my movies, but I was on set on that movie. I forgot about that because that was so long ago. 2012.
As an artist, you really want to keep control.
Right, exactly.
Farting, some director will just take farting and run with it and make all kinds of mistakes.
Right, and that was filmed in LA actually, and I flew down to LA for that. But what I
could tell actually watching it, this looks like a bunch of LA people.
Yes.
They would do farting. Albuquerque, not so much.
Right, and the funny thing is I actually was impressed with the judges to be, because the whole key was to talk about farts like it was really serious and not funny, and so they did such a great job at that, because I thought to myself, oh my God, if I had to critique farts, I would just be laughing and giggling and stuff. And they were serious.
And so, it sounds like you wrote that script kind of as a joke.
It's a joke, yeah, as a parody, just a fun joke.
In the Christmas episode, we talked about the way you got into that was a referral from someone who'd read your script, who really recommended you to a production company. Was it a similar process with your fart script?
Yeah, I'm trying to think how this guy found it, because John Siskel is the director of that, and he contacted me, and he was like, hey, I'm a director. I heard you were a comedy writer. I'm looking for a short, kind of funny little movie to film. And I said, well, I have one. So You Think You Can Fart? And he's like, oh my God, I love it. And I sent it to him, and he was like, he just loved it. He loved the humor. And he was like, let's film it. And I was like, cool. Cause I had never had anything done before. And so it was just,
well, that's cool. Awesome that he came to you before even reading the script.
I know.
I've heard you're so great.
No, and again, I don't know how that came about. I'm trying to remember how that came about. But yeah, we were either Facebook friends or, because the screenwriting community and producers and directors, you get friends with people and stuff. And he had just contacted me, and he just, a lot of directors are trying to kind of prove themselves and shoot something kind of cheap, because that was just all in one location. And so he was just looking for something that he could fund on his own and just shoot and have that director credit. So that's how that happened.
Well, I know you've said that since you've been working in the romance genre, specifically Christmas romances, for a while now, and are currently in production for a non-Christmas romance movie, have you ever thought about going back to, I want to say fart specifically, but like hard definitive comedy again?
I actually have, yeah. So I don't think that just because I've kind of been in that genre that I'm like pigeonholed in there, because I do have an animated movie that I'm working on, and that's like comedic, family comedy. And then I have some edgier Christmas movies. Now, granted, those haven't sold yet because those are a little harder to sell because, again, people want to just have fluff and escape. But there are some, like you've seen the ones on Netflix like this year, and like they even have that comedic one, like the red one on Netflix, about like Santa Claus gets kidnapped, and like an action kind of comedy thing. And so I think there is some possibilities for that. And so, yeah, I've had fun going back to kind of comedy, because you do have to kind of like tamper like the humor and like the funny moments in some of these romances. And so I have gone back to some edgier scripts where I'm like, I can try to like be funny and I can crack jokes, like, yay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for talking with us, and I look forward to seeing more of your work, especially anything fart-based, but also the Christmas stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you, Jacin.
Thank you to everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
When I first started farting, it was not acceptable for women. But I stood my ground with the dream that one day women from all walks of life could fart in public. And tonight, you made me glad I did.